Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Today I am meeting with creator of Poetry of Nice, the YouTube channel, Carly Vick. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about you and your resale journey? I know that you resell on a few different platforms. You sell on eBay, Etsy, and Poshmark. Which platform did you start on, and why did you decide to branch out?
So I started on eBay exclusively, and I started a good sort of 6 or 7 years ago now. And honestly, it was a huge part of our journey to pay off debt. Using reselling is actually how my family got out of debt.
Wow.
It's been such a cool tool for that. And then it just sort of turned into a business at the same time. And then it kind of morphed into the YouTube channel. And now it's just this whole thing. And it's like a career now for me. So
That's fantastic. Was that always your goal? What was your goal when you started reselling, other than paying off debt? Like, were you aiming to become kind of like an influencer, or did it just sort of happen?
Not really, no. Like I said, so the debt was a huge thing. And then also I sort of started really picking it up around the time I had my first child. We have 3 now. And so again, this has been a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to like pursue a career and bring in a good income, and also be able to be home and be mom most of the time and all that kind of stuff as well. It really helps play into the balancing act.
Totally. That's fantastic. I've definitely heard a lot of those stories from a lot of the resellers that we work with, just how incredible reselling has been for transforming their ability to be independent and be like leaders of their own lives. That's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. It's a gift.
Totally. So you mentioned that things kind of snowballed almost, where you started off, you were paying off your debts, and then it kind of just expanded into this whole thing. What was the moment that kind of happened? Was there some kind of like new business development that you had, or a tool that you adopted? What kind of was that driving force?
So I think really for me, like the moment I realized it was sort of it was going to be something that I could pursue in place of having another job, is when my income from home, just kind of working, you know, at my kitchen table with my kids around me and stuff like that, overtook what I was earning previously outside of the home. That was a really good like marker for me. So that was a big one.
I mean, I should say, like, that's a really big indicator that you're on the right track.
It is, and it definitely gives you some confidence as well that I really can make money doing this, and I can be sustainable with it as well.
Totally. So was there anyone, when you guys were getting started, was there anyone that you looked to as an influencer, anyone that really inspired you when you were getting started?
Yeah, so I started like way back in the day before I started YouTube, watching like Texas Gal Treasures and 50 Treasures, a lot of kind of old school people, and they're still around today, and they're still as fantastic as they ever were. But those were the people as well who kind of influenced me to get started and just kind of like lay out all of the things that I had bought and film it POV style and just put it on the internet and see what would happen. And that has sort of evolved over time as well, to now where my main type of content that I produce is I wear a GoPro when I go out yard sailing, garage sailing, so people can see me finding this stuff in real time and see exactly what I pick to resell. And I really enjoy that. That's a lot of fun for me, but it all started at the kitchen table.
That's so awesome. I would have never thought of that, wearing a GoPro as you go around. Do you get
it's a really good
at all?
time? Sometimes a lot of times people will ask me about it, because I don't hide it on me. I wear it right there on like a chest strap, and I'll just get chatting to people and tell them about my channel, and so far there's not been any issues with it, but obviously I would take it off if I needed to. That's fine too.
That's so much fun. Okay, so started reselling to pay off debt, snowballed into this big thing. Where are you going next? Are you expanding at all? Is this kind of where you're settled?
So I'm testing out some other platforms right now. I just got started on Mercari recently, so I'm sort of expanding in terms of how I'm trying to get my inventory out there.
Totally.
I'm also really looking like to try and grow my YouTube channel at this point, because that's starting to, they just work so well together. They're so symbiotic. So I'm looking to try and like develop that throughout the next year or two as well. Yeah, well, I think maybe to niche down, that's something I'm working on right now. I'm trying to get out of selling, like for a while there I was doing just clothing because it was so easy to find and so easy to ship and stuff.
Totally.
And then I got kind of bored of that really quickly. So I still do a few bits, but I'm trying to be more open-minded and find the really cool one-off stuff. That's what I really like to find and sell.
So like the collectibles and things like that?
Yeah, the collectibles, the quirky vintage items, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Very cool. I've been doing research in bolos and things like that, and I find some really weird things that sell for a lot of money. Just like you would have never even looked twice at it unless you knew what it was, kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning that lesson over and over right now. I actually made a contact recently. I went to their yard sale and they had the weirdest, coolest stuff I have ever found. And I ended up putting a letter in their mailbox and saying, if you have anything else to sell, let me know. And they did actually call me. And now I've made 2 trips back to their house so far and taken carloads of stuff that I bought from them. And every single time it's like the best haul I've ever had because I don't know what anything is, but it's all valuable, it's all rare, and it's really, really cool. So that's exciting.
That's so
it's fun. Yeah.
That sounds like a blast.
It is.
Okay, well, you clearly like are very well versed in the world of reselling. Like there is a reason that people look to you for advice. But can you tell me something, some tip, some piece of advice, a warning that you wish you had when you first got started?
Sure. So I was thinking about this, and I think my number one thing I would go back and tell my previous self is to stay organized from the very beginning. Like, even if you have 20 items listed, do some research and settle on an inventory system that you're going to use, and it can adapt and it can change as you change what you're selling and what you buy and stuff, but something there so you don't have to go back through and implement something later, I think would be so valuable, because so much time is wasted either trying to redo that system or trying to find an item that you've sold and you don't know where you put it, and all that time is valuable and you could be spending it listing.
Absolutely. I mean, that's happened to me countless times.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. It happened today. It still happens today, but I'm trying not to let it happen.
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing piece of advice that we could all definitely learn from. So what is a mistake that you see a lot of new resellers doing, other than, you know, not being organized and things like that? What's a mistake that you see that's very common that you always try and advise against? Like, anyone who will listen, you try to tell them not to do this one thing.
I would say buying too much too fast, and that's kind of like twofold. For one part of that would be that you really learn as you go. There is a learning curve, no matter how much YouTube you watch, no matter how many times you look up comps, there is a learning curve that just kind of naturally has to take place. And when things are cheap, that's fine. That's like an organic thing that happens. Yeah, the second part of that would be the overwhelm that can come from that, and that can really stop you in your tracks. Like, a lot of people refer to it as like the death pile or the money pile, whatever you want to call it. It's that pile of stuff that you haven't listed yet and you're still buying more stuff. And I think even when you're sort of seasoned, that can be really overwhelming. It can kind of hinder you. And then when you're beginning, I think that's even more so. It can really kind of stop you in your tracks before you even started. Totally.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of stories like that, especially people who are now coming to us. It's like, I can't get through what I've purchased and I can't stop buying more.
I know, and it's so hard to let go of. Like, I've looked at it sometimes and thought, should I just donate some of the lower dollar items? But I bought them for a reason and there's money in them and I don't want to let them go. I want to find a way to process them quicker, basically.
Absolutely. Did you have any last thoughts that you want to share with new resellers, the reseller community, like a tip that you wanted to say that you didn't quite get to?
Sure. Like, I think my last tip would be to kind of maybe find a niche, at least to begin with, and something you just really love, and learn everything that you can about that. Like, I still now, sort of 7-8 years into it, I'm finding new niches. I just recently discovered the whole world of vintage plush that I didn't really know existed and had value. And it does have a lot of value and it's everywhere.
Like plushies.
And it's really fun. Plushies, yes, just plushies, like from the 80s and stuff. Or recent ones that were released and now they're not producing them anymore, but they're really popular or obscure. Who
That's
knew?
so
It's out
cool.
there. Yeah, and so I try and pick one or two things that I don't know anything about, and then I
Mhm.
just try and learn everything I can about it, especially when you can find it cheap, and it makes it less like data entry and less like
Mhm.
work and more just like fun, really.
That's so cool. Totally. So finding your niche, starting off with something that like like talks to you almost and
Yep.
something that you're comfortable with.
Something, yes, exactly, comfortable with, and just that you really enjoy finding out there. Everybody's got those things, I think, that they just really like to hunt for, and they get really
Yeah.
excited when they find it. So kind of discover that, and that's your jumping off point.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And thank you again for joining me. One
Oh,
more
thank you for
time.
having me.
Of course. One more time, this is Carly from Poetry of Nice. Thank you so much again. And is there anything, an event, show coming out that you want to plug or social channels where the people can find you?
I would just mention, like you said, my YouTube channel is The Poetry of Nice, and there you're going to find all kinds of things like me live, point of view, GoPro straps on, all that good stuff, garage sales and yard sales and rummage sales and all kinds of cool stuff. And then I'll show you what I buy and what I sell and exactly how much money I make for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And all the people, please feel free to join us back. We're going to have more great videos like this. All
Thanks.
right.